Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
So get this. There's a new poll suggesting a majority of Americans believe pornography, polygamy, and suicide are wrong. But you might be surprised which issues they find morally acceptable. The Morning Light panel will help us understand this strange moment in American culture.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. A nonprofit's goal is to beautify Pennsylvania's capital city one block at a time and empower food security by offering fresh produce. Wildheart Ministries is offering several opportunities for you and your church to serve as the hands and feet of Jesus Christ.
I saw what I think is vegetables from their garden or their farm.
Beautiful.
Beautiful stuff, yeah. Well, from the 1920s to the 1960s, sociologists marked a profound shift in attitudes towards sex, marriage, and the definition of family. The sexual revolution gave rise to a multi-billion-dollar pornography industry. It normalized no-fault divorce, and then it transformed the way we care for and protect children. Now, more than a century after that experiment began, there's some indication Americans may be adjusting once again, at least on some issues, and it's a very interesting phenomenon, Deborah.
Well, and it does appear some Americans have retained some time-honored religious values, at least on some of today's toughest issues. A new Gallup poll finds a majority of Americans find adultery, cloning animals, and changing genders as morally wrong.
That's interesting.
But they find premarital sex, gambling, the death penalty, and doctor-assisted suicide as morally acceptable. And there are two issues, though, Americans are evenly divided: abortion and animal testing.
I mean, look at those numbers. It's right down the middle on where Americans are. Well, it's a fascinating cultural study with real implications for our relationships, the direction of our laws, and how they are administered. But how did we get here? How do we hold views and values which seemingly contradict each other? What problems emerge when our opinions are formed on a case-by-case basis, really disconnected from any worldview or principles? We'll ask the Morning Light panel to help us navigate these uncharted waters in American cultures, and three people who have been charting waters for a long time. Speaker Bryan Cutler, delighted to have you here this morning.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
And I think this is obviously an issue where you have been very outspoken on, which is when the culture is zigzagging, people who identify as Christians really have some kind of an obligation to say, well, this is the framework with which we approach our issues. But here's the big question. It doesn't appear that there is a framework for too many people anymore. People are picking and choosing almost based on what their constituents are telling them. And you see that reflected in these issues, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We see it all the time. And it's no mistake that this is occurring at the same time while participation in organized religion is also dropping. What we have to recognize is our faith actually gives us a structured moral code. And there is a very hard right and wrong in many cases. And when you live, as many people do today, on a case-by-case basis, it's what results in those surveys. You know, you pick what feels good. You pick what you might want to do at that time. And, you know, we use terms like your own truth, which there is only one truth, and we have to recognize that. And until we do so, I think you're going to see this mixed bag of results going forward.
So, Amber, why can't, I can hear somebody saying out there, why can't I just kind of cafeteria style this? Why do I have to accept all of it? There's some things I like about Christianity. I like helping neighbors. I like reaching out and seeing people in need and acting on it. But when it comes to my own personal behavior, why does it have to extend into all that? How do you square that and answer that?
That's what we teach our kids. Right? We have to teach our kids who they don't want guardrails, but they know they need them. They know they actually need to know what is and is not acceptable, what will allow them to lead their best possible life, and what will degrade them morally and really chip away at their souls. So we have to be pointing people back at, again, as Bryan said, there is truth. There is truth. And if you don't have yourself anchored in truth, then you will shift with the ever-changing Overton window that culture gives you. But with that comes that degradation of, weaponized empathy that allows us to say, well, because I feel bad for you that you're struggling with this, I will tell you that it's actually okay, or maybe even good and empowering for you. But that doesn't actually help image bearers of God lead our best lives, which the Bible, if you follow it, it actually is our recipe for success.
So let me ask you. You hold very strong convictions, but I also know you to be a nice person who actually has. But you have relationships that do not share your values. How do you reconcile that? How do you do that and not essentially judge the person across the table who isn't there, not anywhere near where you're at?
It's easy. Christ tells us to judge not. That's not my role. That's not my lane. My lane is to do what God has commanded me to do to the best of my abilities, knowing full well that I fail on a daily and sometimes an hourly basis. So it is certainly not my duty to point out the faults in others, but through hopefully our actions and our deeds, people can see God's truth reflected in us, as imperfectly as that may be. That
is a fascinating tension, but one that you have to, it feels like, as a believer, go down. So you, of course, dealt with a large population of people who were incarcerated for some crime that they committed in most cases. How did you find that lack of what Amber is describing, that moral framework, led to a path that ended up putting them behind bars?
Yeah, I don't know that I assume that it was some moral failing that led behind bars. That's really not a framing I'm familiar with.
What is your framing?
Well, people make mistakes, and we all start as flawed.
Right.
So some mistakes are bigger than others. So in that way, I think getting back to where Bryan started, you can't decouple the church from this discussion and the fact that we're not just running away from church, and all the implications of that in society. So with the loosening, you earlier talked about the loosening of assumptions and these kinds of things. And then at the same time, you think of the increase in access to any kind of information you want. So we lack the moral framing. We've taken it all out of government. I see the real implications in the school system where kids are exposed to anything, and then think about them not being anchored to a church on top of that. And I think these are all logical.
So how do you re-anchor a person who needs to have that kind of relationship with their maker, but also be in community, the church that you're describing, but they're behind bars? I mean,
behind bars, it's easy. Because it really is, because when people get behind bars, if they want to get out or if they want to stay out, they're at a place where whatever they were doing didn't work, to a point where they're open to a framing. And here's the thing that I don't describe as a moral failing necessarily, but when you're not anchored to something, and when you're trying to make all these decisions by yourself, we're pain avoidant. So we're going to make the decisions that make us feel the best. The worse we're doing, we're going to try more extreme means to get those needs satisfied. And the reality is, and what the Christian faith teaches us is, no, that suffering is part of it. And come to me. This is how you relieve the suffering. If you don't have that, you would do anything. You would do anything to relieve suffering. That's not a moral. I think it's just not a lack of access to the truth.
Bryan, people that are church people and religious people, may even identify as Christians, if you drill down in these polls, they are zigzagging themselves around. They're not consistent on what marriage is, or when life should be protected, or what children should be exposed to. They're almost as susceptible to those cultural pressures. So you could be a weekly church attender and give your money to the church, but still hold these views. So what is the missing piece? It's not just joining a church, right?
No, absolutely not. it's not just joining a church. And I'll go back to what one of our pastors always said, and that was, don't believe me, believe what the Bible says. And he would preach a sermon on a particular issue. Maybe it was a tough issue to hear about. Maybe it was when life begins, or what marriage is, or how God created the world. And all of that is in direct opposition to what we hear in society. And he would always say, don't believe me, this is what the Bible says, and then back it up with Scripture. Attending a church and donating to a church is not enough. You have to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and you have to really, Amber hit on it, you have to love each other. We're not called to judge, but we sure can show compassion, we can show love, we can help people when they need it. And that, at that point, is the hands and feet of Christ, and that's what people need.
Anything you want to add to this? As he brought your name up here, and I mean, this is a beautiful way that you're describing it. I know, though, there are people that are saying, but I don't encounter too many religious people like this. What I hear from them is their judgment and condemnation. I'd be open to reading the Bible, but the people that I meet are not like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people have had negative experiences encountering people who profess Christianity but are not walking the way Christ taught us to love people and to draw them to ourselves by giving them His Word and by showing them that humility that comes from His grace in our lives. And so being able to show that to Him, or show that to them ourselves, is key to see what Christianity really is.
So that would also, feels like it would entail sharing the pieces of your story where that grace that you talk about was applied then, right?
Absolutely.
I want you to end us here on something of a hopeful note for people who are hearing this conversation saying, look, I just don't know what to believe or where to start. And my opinions, if they think about it, are being formed by social media or being formed by my favorite politician. How do you unplug there? Because I've watched you do it. And then plug into an entirely different system of getting your compass calibrated.
Yeah, well, I think the first part, and I think you pointed this out nicely, is that our institutions, we as Christians have to behave like Christians actively. And I think, I would say, get in the fight. We have to be good examples and be comfortable enough, and I'll speak about myself. I was not comfortable enough to lead with my faith when it's ready to do that, and say, look, me being here, me being who I am, it is because of my faith. And I've been in the situation you've been in, and the only way to get out is faith. So I think we have to be more active witnesses, and I think many of us, me in particular, need to live our life more according to the Christian word, and then people will believe it,
Beautiful. Friends, thank you. Very helpful today. Well, building bridges to transform communities, Wildheart Ministries is working to rebuild, restore, and revive the Allison Hill section of Harrisburg, one neighborhood at a time. You'll learn how you can help up next. You're watching Morning Light right here on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. Hard work and hope. Wildheart Ministries is looking to revitalize the Allison Hill area of Pennsylvania's capital city, one block at a time. There are several ways you can get involved. Tannon Herman, the executive director, is here to share the details. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, love being with you guys.
Remind us again about Wildheart Ministries.
Yeah, it's a really simple, beautiful story, but my wife and I actually relocated here to Harrisburg in 2013 from Oklahoma, of all places. And we came here to work with a friend of ours. A year later, he moved to California, and in that transition, we discovered a really beautiful opportunity to love and serve our neighbors. Started Wildheart, and it has been this journey of what does it look like to listen to the needs of the community and just respond with the love of Jesus. And so that has grown, over the last 10 years now, which is crazy to say out loud.
Amazing.
But we've seen God do amazing things through simple service, volunteering inside the community to clean the streets. We're now growing vegetables on a farm and soon to be building homes for low-income individuals inside of the city. So it's just, the story continues to unfold, and it's really easy, really fun.
And that's why we do have the vegetables here, the beautiful flowers. We're going to be talking more about that in our next segment. But talk to us about volunteers. Volunteers are crucial.
Absolutely. You know, when we moved to Harrisburg, we did not understand how much of a stigma the city really had for people who, even inside the city, but especially outside the city. And so when we were praying about what to do, we really felt like it was about inviting people to see what was going on the ground and actively mobilizing people in their faith to serve their neighbors. I think anyone of faith really has a heart and a desire to serve the poor, to serve those who are in need, to serve those who are disadvantaged. And so we really felt like our responsibility in that was to facilitate that opportunity. And so it's been amazing to see. Now on an annual basis, we're having close to 2,500 to 3,000 volunteers come through our home. We live right on South 13th Street. So it's a very intimate experience. You get to come right into the middle of our area, see where we live, where we work, where we function, but also get a chance to meet our neighbors. And we really emphasize that a lot of people know us as Love the Hill. That's kind of how this whole thing started, but it's really about connecting people to people, not about even doing the service. The service is just a beautiful excuse to be around our neighbors and see why we wake up every day and say there's more we can do to love our neighbors.
So let's talk about some of the events that you have coming up, like Love the Hill.
Yeah, so we have monthly events that we host, volunteer events that are open to anyone of all ages. I'll emphasize that. We often get the question, who can come? The answer is anyone of any skill set, of any capacity, of any age, because I feel like love doesn't make excuses for what it can and can't do. It just does it. And so you can go on our website, lovethehillpa.com, and on that website, click events. You can see there are so many opportunities for people to plug in and volunteer. There are things out in the streets. There's also things right there at our property on South 13th Street that people can get engaged in. And you'll talk more about the farm. That's always a great opportunity to get people plugged in as well.
What about Business Day Out? That sounds like something Morning Light should be doing.
Oh yeah. Well, and I expect to see you guys there. So we do twice a year. We do a really beautiful event called Business Day Out. As we have become more ingrained in the Harrisburg community, I love hearing people say, we love our community. And I always challenge people, well, where is that community? And how can you actively and tangibly get involved in that passion for your neighborhood? And so twice a year, we host an event called Business Day Out, where we focus on rallying the business community. So we'll have anywhere from 20 to 30 different companies come and serve with us on that day. We organize projects. It's very plug and play. So if you're a business owner and you're like, I've always wanted to help, I just don't know how, we try to make this as easy as possible. You just show up to our house. You already have team leaders, projects assigned, materials purchased, and you just go do the thing and love our neighbors with us on that day.
And what is the reaction you receive from people living in the Allison Hill area?
You know, obviously it was a shock to a lot of our neighbors when we first started doing the work we were doing, mostly because they couldn't believe we kept doing it. But now that it's become a history, 10 years now of almost service inside of the neighborhood, it's really become a part of the culture of the community where everybody understands that this is the work of what it looks like when a whole village comes together. You know, you hear people say that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes multiple villages to rebuild a village that's been in disrepair for some time. So we invite people from all over the region. We've even had people from other states come and serve in this community, and our neighbors' response has just been thank you, just gratitude, so much gratitude. And I love sharing that experience with people as well, of just like seeing the kindness and the generosity of individuals in our neighborhood towards their efforts to serve.
Yeah, I love the idea of changing the whole culture. I might also mention the gala. We were there last year, a beautiful event for a great cause.
Oh yeah, no, we would love to have you guys back, and anyone who would want to come. We host an annual fundraiser in November called the Wildheart Gala. You can go to givetothehill.com to learn about those details, but that event really, this year we're going to be focusing on the work that's happening with the Hill Farm and how you can be a part of helping to address food security inside of the city of Harrisburg.
Oh, that's wonderful. Tannon, thanks so much for being with us.
Having
And if you would like to volunteer for the Wildheart Ministries Love the Hill Day or Business Day Out, or to learn more about the organization's gala, check out wildheartministries.net. Coming up next on Morning Light, building a healthy future. Wildheart Ministries started the Hill Farm, offering fresh produce to anyone. Learn how you can help next. We are back in 1 minute. In our last segment, you heard about the mission of Wildheart Ministries, but did you know that Wildheart also offers fresh produce to the community? Joining me is Marissa Freed, farm manager with Wildheart Ministries. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about farm work days in August.
Yeah, so our farm work days in August, we're in the heat of the season. So as you can see all around us with the beautiful produce, we've been planting, seeding, harvesting, packaging, taking care of the animals and our volunteer groups as well.
So let's talk about the produce. This is really beautiful. I mean, here's tomatoes, peppers, carrots. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And check out these flowers.
Yes.
They are beautiful. And they smell great too.
Thank you.
So tell us, what you have on the farm?
Yeah, so as you can see around us, we primarily focus on vegetables and seasonal fruits as well. We do our flowers. They are a complimentary gift to all of our community members at our markets, but we're focusing on the food insecurity. So our main focus is getting some fresh fruits and veggies out with a good price and an organic value.
And when we're talking about the produce, why don't you tell us all you have? Because it looks, there's some things here I'm like, oh
Yes.
my goodness, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so we have carrots, zucchini, radishes, we have peppers, tomatoes, watermelon, cantaloupe. We do have blueberry and raspberry bushes, our very famous asparagus row that comes up every spring as well. We have all sorts of different flowers. The beautiful ones you were smelling earlier are zinnias. They were actually planted by one of our really helpful volunteers.
Oh, wow. And this is available to anyone and everyone.
Yes. So
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so like I said previously, our main focus is on the food insecurity in Harrisburg. So we're really just getting it out into the community every way possible. We have markets that we attend, and as well, if we have any excess produce from the markets, we do wholesale it to a local restaurant called The Table.
Nice. And how has it really expanded? I mean, 10 years.
Yes, definitely. So we've had the farm and been producing on it for about 3 years now. And so in this season, we've been using all 3 of our major production fields. We also have a high tunnel field that we use as well. And we actually recently purchased a new high tunnel that we're in the middle of production with.
How does this really pull the community together?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different aspects that pull the community together. The volunteers are definitely a big help with everything that I do. And so the volunteers, as Tannon said earlier, are from within the community and outside the community as well. We also have our local markets where we really are just reaching out to the community, letting them know what all we're doing here. And in addition, we do offer teen internships. So teenagers within the city do come out and work for me in an internship where they get to learn more about where their food is coming from.
How do you weave the gospel into what you do every day?
Yeah, so it's definitely a blessing to be on a farm because the gospel kind of feeds itself into there because I'm sure, as you know, within the Bible, there's tons of different analogies involving farming and seeding of that nature. And so I think that the best way to show the gospel is to just show love in actions. So like the song about they know we are Christians because of our love. Like we're just out here trying to spread love. We're just out here trying to show them what Jesus has to offer.
And really, what is the reaction that you receive from people living in the community?
Yeah, it's really outstanding. I mean, just in my short time being here at the farm, the amount of people that learn about the farm and they just are astounded. It's like we call it our hidden gem because some people even that live directly around the farm in the community don't even know it's there. And until they come out to the markets or see us with big volunteer groups out at the farm, they'll stop by. We have people stopping by the farm all the time asking, what is this about? And we'll give them a tour and we'll tell them this is what it's about. It's for you. Like this is what we're all trying to do here is just show love and spread some food around.
And how do you see that this ministry is making a difference?
I honestly do see it in every day of my life. I mean, I see it in my own life, how it impacts me, and I also see it in the people around me that are just so touched that we want to get out there and we want to do these things for people. Like I said previously, we have people that just stop by the farm sometimes and they're so astounded when I'm like, do you want a tour? Do you want to taste something? They just think it's almost like a fun field trip for themselves. So it's really neat.
How is it impacting you? I love it when you said that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole like story of me coming to Wildheart as a whole has been very impactful in my life. But it really just shows you like how you can be impactful within your own community. And in addition, like people don't understand how it affects them. Like they just see you pouring out into them. I had a young girl who was a volunteer at the farm the other week, and she said, "Can I take a picture with you?" And I was like, "Oh, of course." And she said, "Yeah," she said, "Our youth group is doing a program where we want to take a picture with someone who we saw God in today." And so it was very impactful for me. Like I know that I'm showing Jesus' love, and it's almost like confirming that I am in the right place where God wants me to be.
And you are.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah.
And if you would like to volunteer at the Hill Farm work days, you can check out wildheartministries.net. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up Monday on Morning Light, praying worldwide for children and schools. Moms in Prayer International explains why it is so important to lift up our students in prayer. Plus, learn how you can attend one of the organization's events right here in central Pennsylvania. And that's a look at what's coming up Monday on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts, and have a wonderful weekend.
You have a great weekend, Deborah. Well, Target CEO Bryan resigned Wednesday after 11 pretty rocky years, caught in the culture wars. The more he tried to please one side or the other, the worse it got. Conservatives boycotted, so did progressives, for different reasons. Sales are down, stocks plummeting, investors are mad, nobody's happy. For years, Target missed their mark, allowing the culture to write its values. Consumers saw the retail giant making it up by the day, tacking with the wind. It's a cautionary tale to never let opinion form our values, to never let polls determine our true north. Because as the book of James warns, a double-minded man or woman is unstable in all our ways. We wish Bryan and his family the very best, but for the sake of the families who depend on a Target paycheck, we hope that company he led finds its way again. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for spending the week with us. Go check on your neighbors, and we'll see you again, God willing, Monday morning.